Hi, it's Isabella and today I'm going to show you an in-depth tutorial on my glowy summer makeup. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. I also just want to remind you that if you're getting really caught up in a lot of beauty content lately and maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, it's very easy to get swept up in this whole makeup TikTok. Everybody looks gorgeous, everybody looks flawless. You can turn it off at any time. You can switch it all off. You always have control. You can have your own standard of beauty. You can be beautiful in your own way. There are filters on TikTok, there are filters on Instagram, there are beauty filters even set into this camera. I am not using the beauty filter and I never do. I think it's a delusional way to look at yourself. Don't let yourself be too influenced by what you see, and it's just a little reminder because I need that reminder sometimes. Okay, you can't tell so well because of the lighting, but I do have fake tan on. You can tell from my hands, and I don't fake tan my face, so we're going to be using a darker foundation today. I've already applied moisturizer and I've also applied my sunscreen. This is the one I'm using at the moment. I actually quite like it. It's very light. It doesn't leave my skin feeling clogged or sticky, but it does have quite a citrusy smell if you're not a fan of citrus. Oh my god, I just realized it's only UVA, no UVB. I just purchased the e.l.f. Halo Glow liquid filter. It's the 0.5 there. Just put it on the back of my hand, my clean hand. This is my little palette which I use for all my makeup that goes on my face. I'm going to use this little flat foundation brush. Pretty much put this kind of all over, but focusing mainly on my cheeks. This basically gives you a glow underneath the foundation. If I need a bit more, I just put a bit more on the back of my hand. Just a little bit on my nose. I don't want to be too shiny there. Actually, sometimes I don't put it on my chin. I don't always want it to look shiny because then it can kind of look greasy. But just for the sake of being extra glowy for this video, I'm going to put it pretty much everywhere. Don't forget the brow bone. So I make sure that's really blended in and it's giving me a super glowy glass look. So now I'm going to take my foundation. This is the Revlon Color Stay 24-hour long wear in the color Natural Beige. I've really been loving how it's looking on my skin. I've actually had a lot of compliments when I've posted pictures on Instagram wearing it. I'm going to shake it, apply it to my hand. For my foundation coverage, I've been using this NYX stippled makeup brush. I like the way it applies, so I usually just dab it in a little bit and start dabbing it over. And I will link everything below. For my nose, I just use a little bit. Usually I try to just do one pump and that's normally enough, but if I want like extra coverage, I'll use a bit more. And I also just go my eyes, just a little bit what's left on the brush, just so that my actual eyes aren't like white. I'm just going a tiny bit under my eyes, just what's left on the brush, and blending it down my neck too. What's left on the brush, I just lightly blend into the hairline. I actually didn't even need 2 pumps. I've still got like half a pump left on my hand, which is always a dilemma because I'm like, should I use it? But then is it going to make my makeup look cakey if I use too much? Okay, I'm just going to use a teensy bit of it under my eyes. So that's foundation done, and as you can see it's looking super glowy. I'm going to show you close up. Even without the halo glow, when I use this foundation, it's applied so smoothly and beautifully. I've had a glow anyway. Maybe it's the sunscreen making me glowy, I don't know. Time for under eyes. I actually picked up the Maybelline Superstay Active Wear Concealer. This is like their lightest shade. It's Fair 10. I was actually meant to buy the Fit Me one that everyone raves about, but I always try products on the back of my hand when I'm in the shop and it felt really dry on the back of my hand, whereas when I tried this one it just felt a bit more moisturizing. However, I'm not sure if this was the best one for me. I have a love-hate relationship with under eye concealers. I just think they can like really look a bit dry and cakey. So anyway, I've applied some of that. I take this little tiny flat brush. This is Bare Minerals. I've had it since I was 16. Still works a charm. Recently I've been trying really hard not to put any concealer on the outside part. I get a lot of eye creases here when I smile. I find that it starts to dry and crack throughout the day and it just doesn't look particularly good. But if I do put any here, I just won't powder it here. And then I go a bit up here and then I also bring it down a little bit. And then because it's quite light, sometimes I just blend it a little bit, like dab it back in with this foundation brush. I don't really use concealer anywhere else. If I had blemishes, I would use concealer, but I actually think this one's a bit bit too light. So ideally I need to get like a different concealer, but this is the only one I have at the moment and it's very light. So I just use it under my eyes. Okay, that was a long explanation. So now I'm going to set that under my eyes. Everybody else seems to do it. And I tell you what they do. They get one of these and they get something like this, like a translucent powder. This is a cheap one. And they press it in and then they like press it under. And I don't know why, but this seems to be what like all the it girls, like the it glamour makeup girls are doing. And every time I do it, my under eye looks so dry and cakey and gross. Maybe it's the product. I have found that applying it with a slightly fluffier brush, a bit lighter, works a bit better for me. This is a cheap one. It's not too bad actually. Revolution translucent powder. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to use this really nice Chanel one that I got as a gift. So what I do is I put it on the back of my hand and I just dab it in like that. And then I just really lightly go here. But I don't go any further out here at all. Just here. Because I want to keep the glow on this side. And I just want to mattify this little middle portion. Put a bit on my chin. I don't want it to look greasy. I might also put a little bit here. But sometimes I don't. Put a tiny bit here. But not too much because we want to look glowy. Okay, I'm actually going to put some on the sides of my nose just so the top, like this bit, glows a bit more. And this is what it looks like close up. I swear to God, this camera is like really flattering. I don't have a beauty filter on or anything, but it might be the lighting washing me out, but it's making my skin look like really nice. And I promise you my skin doesn't actually look this nice. Okay, next I'm going to prep my brows with the Got To Be Glued eyebrow gel. This is my favourite eyebrow gel. It's only £5.50 from Boots. I used to live with drag queens and they swore by this. So that says a lot. Again, I've linked everything in the description. I sometimes just brush it forward a little bit just to get it really in there. And I brush them all up. But this is really important because it can start to get a bit gross and mix in with your foundation and like a bit gloopy. So I actually take my pinky finger and then I just like laminate it up with my pinky finger, like wipe it all up. Also, if you use too much, it can get a bit crusty throughout the day and then it just does not look good. So you gotta like wipe some away. Another flat brush that I use just for this, and I use that to wipe away the residue from above. Otherwise that's gonna dry, it's gonna look shiny, and then it's gonna look crispy and it just won't look good. I should also mention that I don't always do my eyebrows going up. Sometimes I like to bring the eyebrow down a bit. I just find that it suits my face shape. I do like the upward brows when I'm doing a glowy look. It all depends on your face shape and how you like to wear your brows. I also find that it looks a lot better if I have dyed my eyebrows, because that way I don't really have to fill them in so much. I can just put on this eyebrow gel and then they're good to go. With what's left on my hand with this concealer, I'm going to take my concealer brush and I'm actually just going to go a little bit above the brow. Sometimes wiping the gel away can like ruin the makeup a little bit, so I do like touch up and just blending it out. Maybe it's better to do my brows before I start my foundation. While my eyebrows are setting, I do my eyeshadow slightly different every day, but this is the basic look that I've been doing lately. Just to make all the colours blend a little bit better, I'm going to start off with a light base shade all over the lid. This isn't a particularly good one, by the way. It's just like a Maybelline random one, but it kind of works good as a base to help everything blend. I don't always do this. This is just because I want it to look extra good for the video. So I'm going to use this nude color, which looks like just a skin color, but on me it kind of is a little bit warm in like the outer corner where I would normally put a wing. And I'm just using a fluffy brush for this. So that's just given like a base bit of depth, but we're going to make it even richer by building up with darker colors and warmer colors. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, and I love this palette because it's very good for green eyes, and I have green eyes. If you have a palette that complements your eyes, you could use that. I'm actually going to use Golden Orch, which is like this slightly yellowy color. It's like a mustard almost, and I hate the color mustard, but this does tend to look quite nice on my eyes. So I'm going to go really lightly, and the trick with how I do this is literally just using the lightest little dab and applying it really lightly and just blending it, because then you have more control over the outcome. And then I go slightly into the middle, like as if I was just kind of doing a wing. Actually, because I'm making this up as I go along, like I do every day, I'm gonna drag it slightly under, just in the corner underneath. And then sometimes just a little bit up into the crease. So now I take like a slightly denser brush. Usually I just pick a warmer color. I'm gonna go with burnt orange, and I just very gently, as if I was about to start drawing a wing, but I'm just gonna dab it on just that little outer corner where I would normally draw a wing, and I'm just literally dabbing it and then slowly sort of blending it out. Really small movements. That is the trick. If it starts to look a little bit blotchy and thick, then I just lightly use a blending brush to just really lightly, sometimes I even brush inward just to keep it from like spreading out too much. As you can see here, it's gone a bit blotchy. I just literally sometimes just wipe it away. Got black. I've just got black on me. Okay, so we'll just fix that. Just fix that. Blending, blending, blending. I think the trick with blending is to keep your blending motions really small. Smaller than you think you need to. And then I actually just start to drag what's on the outside just in a little bit. Just really lightly. So now we have that, I'm going to start to create a wing with powder. A little tiny angled brush like this. I have two. And this is where I'll take a slightly darker colour. I'm actually going to use this colour, Lockout, which is like a kind of hazelnut brown. I will just draw on a slight wing just by dabbing it. And I just build it by dabbing it. And I dab it slightly into the lash line, the outer corner. I am by no means like a makeup junkie. I'm not like that into makeup. I never have been. I just kind of find out what looks good on me, and then I kind of just do that over and over, and just sometimes I just switch up the colours or change it up a little bit. Oh crap. I often go wrong and I just have to like clean up a little bit, but that's normal. I take a denser brush from before and I just again inward. Blending inward, tiny little strokes to just blend it in a little bit outward. So I'm slowly building up the smoky wing, and I'm just going back and making sure each side is even throughout. I'm actually going to take a bit more of this yellowy colour, slightly more under the eye, just a tiny bit. So the final step is taking the darkest shade, kind of reddish purple shade called Lethal. I like using it as an eyeliner shade because it's not as harsh as a black. Take a bit on my angled brush and really lightly dab on some kind of wing shape. Blend it into the lash line. Alternating between the dense brush to kind of blend it in again. Any fallout at this point, I'll just lightly brush away with this fluffy brush. So here's a close-up of what we've got. So I'm just going to keep kind of building it and blending it until I'm happy. This is what it looks like. You can see it's just kind of like a very subtle wing, blended out, smoked out, and a bit warm. And I try to keep it only on the outer half, and I do make sure to blend it into my lashes as well. What I've also been loving to do lately is just doing a little line in the tear duct just to elongate my eyes. I used to use a tiny little brush and I quite enjoyed using like an orangey shade for this. However, lately I've been using my eyebrow pen, which works really well for this. Literally draw a tiny little line. And I like this because it's really thin and precise. And because it's a dark brown, it doesn't look so harsh as using a black. I'm going to tightline my upper lash line just so that my eyelashes look a bit fuller. This is the mascara I'm using at the moment. It's really nothing special. I've never really been one to spend loads on a mascara. I usually just buy the cheapest one. I feel like they're kind of all the same. As long as it washes off easily and it gives my lashes some kind of length, I'm good. Sometimes I really can't decide whether I want to do mascara on my bottom lashes or not. So while I figure it out, I'm going to do my eyebrows. This is the NYX Lift and Smatch Brow Pen, and this is the shade Ash Brown. I really like this, but on the aeroplane, the pressure, I opened it to do my makeup and like it exploded. All the ink just went everywhere. Luckily it didn't go on my clothes. I've kind of like run out of it already. So with this, I'm just gonna do some really light brush strokes just where my eyebrow looks a bit sparse. I like this pen because it's so thin. You can really kind of draw your eyebrow hairs wherever you want them. The trick I like to do with my eyebrows is actually kind of trying to make them more straight across. My actual natural eyebrow would kind of go down a bit more here, but I just kind of, I draw more on top so that it looks like it's going out a bit more. And I try not to give myself too much of an arch. I don't think it's particularly flattering on me to have like a really high arch. I used to do it when I was a teenager. I used to do like, it was like a point. I thought it was sexy. Looking back, I don't know what I was doing. Basically one eyebrow done compared to the other one. For the inner corner, I just make the brush strokes as tiny as I possibly can so that it looks as natural as possible. Okay, brows are done. This is what they look like. At this point, I might do a second coat on my mascara sometimes. Lately, I'm actually not wearing fake lashes. I used to love them and I kind of go in phases of wearing eyelashes. I usually use the Ardell Baby Wispies. After a period of time of wearing them a lot, I find that my natural lashes start to be really sparse. So at the moment, I'm using like an eyelash serum and they've been pretty good lately. So I'm sure I'll go back to fake lashes soon. But for the moment, I've just been enjoying my natural lashes. And actually you get used to your normal lashes. So next we're going to move on to blush, and I have these 3 shades. These are Laura Mercier, Peach Whisper, Heather Pink and Lotus Pink. I kind of use all of them, but I really like this light pink shade, so I dab it on like this as high as I can. Actually lately have been going a bit more in. I actually go a bit under my eye, like halfway in. I'm starting to think I might want to try like a liquid blush or a cream blush because again, I don't like putting too much powders underneath my eyes. For the moment, this is what I've got, so this is what I'm using. I'm a big advocate of just using what you have and making do. I'm just taking like dabbing whichever colors I want and just sort of blending it in. Very important. I go over the bridge of my nose. This just makes you look a little bit more sun-kissed. This one's actually quite shimmery, so I'm not going to use this on my nose. And then I also go on the top of my head. This is a trick I have always done just to make you look a bit more flushed and sun-kissed. I haven't actually been reaching for my bronzer very often because I feel like the blush kind of gives such a beautiful glow anyway, but let's go all out. Bare Minimals Warmth. I'm not going to tell you how long I've had this, probably a bit too long, but I do love this because it's very pigmented. I kind of get it in the lid and then tap it off and then I'll use whatever's in the lid. Oh wait, I didn't get any in there. So yeah, so I'm just going to sweep here really lightly, a little bit over the forehead, a bit more up here, and then over the nose on the outside edges. Now I'm going to do my nose contour, and I pretty much do this every time I do my makeup now. The shade I use is actually the Sleek Eyebrow palette, and this is the light one. The shade is really good because it's not too orangey. I like to kind of like create more of a button nose. I just shade underneath here. I guess this is my septum. I go across here to create like a shadow to make it look like my nose is lifting up, like it's a little button nose. I do try to embrace my nose, but like sometimes I like it to look a certain way when I'm wearing lots of makeup. Sometimes I go in here, it gives like an interesting kind of dimension to your nose, but I don't really go along the sides. I don't feel the need to. I just like creating the little button. If I've done a bit too much, like I think I might have gone a bit overboard, I just sort of wipe it away. Now it's time for highlighter. This was only £4. It's 17, and this is probably the best cheap highlighter I've used. I've used like Revolution ones, which are a similar price, and I find them not so great. But this one gives a really nice glow, and the shade I have is Rose. I prefer a liquid highlighter or a cream highlighter, but I had to buy this when I was going to Italy because I had to limit my liquids. Any old brush really, this is just the one I use for highlighting. Another rule I have is not to go any further than here. I used to just like slather it all on all here, and it kind of looks a bit weird if this part is highlighted, at least on my face, so I try to keep it really on the outer part. I also go slightly under the brow bone. I like to go like here, just the outside portions of my forehead, and then I take a teensy little bit and I go across the nose, and that's all I will do with highlighter. I used to like do my upper lip and everything. I don't do that anymore. If I do want to look really snatched, I will do some contour in my cheekbones. I haven't been doing it lately, but if I am, I'll just use this kind of small brush, the brow powder. Lately I've been trying to do it higher than I normally would, and I try to go lightly. I have quite a round face and round features. This can be handy to make myself look more snatched, but I actually haven't been doing it a lot lately. I don't know, I've just been embracing the roundness. Anyway, I'm not very good at contouring. I put on a little bit and I call it a day. I don't do my jawline really because I find that it just leaves a weird line. Maybe I just don't do it properly, but yeah, I don't really do here. I don't do underneath. I just do that, okay? Now all that's left to do is lips. I forgot. Usually I would put lip balm on at the very beginning before I start doing any of my makeup. I'm just gonna dab a little bit now, and then I'm actually gonna blot it off on the back of my hand, just so the lip liner will go on a bit easier. I'm just gonna overdraw my lips the way I always do. I've just rubbed off 2 different lip shades because I wasn't happy with it. Anyway, I've decided to go with this one. It's a Laura Mercier Baby Lips. It's kind of like a corally color. I just want to say also, this was a gift. I don't tend to buy very expensive makeup, but I did get a load of Laura Mercier products from friends a while back because they worked at a beauty store. I only have like 4 lip pencils and I constantly lose them. My favorite one to lose NYX, which is now called Mauve, lost that. I repurchased it like 3 times in the past 6 months and I keep losing it. This one seems to only suit me when I'm wearing a tan, but it's a lovely summery color. Quite often with lip liners, I will literally just wear the liner and I won't buy the matching lipstick. I find that the liner itself usually looks fine and lasts fine. If anything, I'll just add like a similar lip color over the top to create a different color, or I'll add a lip balm over the top or a lip gloss. I think I'm actually going to use this. It's another Laura Mercier product and this is Coral Claire and it's just a slightly lighter coral color and it's just lightened up the color a little bit. I've decided I am going to do my bottom lashes. Okay, that is it. Let's just zhuzh myself up a bit. And I'm also going to show you with some different camera settings so you can see. This is like a more normal camera setting so you can see the colors. I also just want to show you on my phone camera. My vlogging camera is actually quite flattering, I find, and I think with the lighting it doesn't always pick up everything, so I just wanted to be real, show you as much as possible. My skin does have texture as well. I do have lines. My makeup can look crusty sometimes. It doesn't look like as perfect as sometimes it does on camera, like with the lights and stuff in a YouTube video. Usually in YouTube videos, like I'm quite far away from the camera, always like quite flattering. I just want you guys to see that like no one's makeup is perfect. Mine certainly isn't. Please remember, there are beauty filters on TikTok, there are beauty filters on Instagram. People use filters and they won't disclose it. Even like my camera that I have, it has a built-in beauty filter, and when I first used it, it was already set to the beauty filter. I've taken that off and I never use it. I'm a big advocate for not using filters, and so I just wanted to be real with you. And my camera has just died, so I'm going to say goodbye here. All of the products will be in the description. I also have Patreon if you want to see more content from me. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Mwah.